All right, welcome. Today, we're taking a walk down the dusty streets of Macomb, Alabama to get into one of the most incredible stories ever told. We're going to see Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird through the eyes of a little kid and watch what happens when pure innocence runs right into prejudice, courage, and, well, a side of humanity you just don't see coming. Everything. The whole story starts and ends with this one line. It's so much more than just, a story about a broken arm. It's a promise. The real mystery isn't how it happened, it's why. What kind of powerful, messy, human forces were swirling around this little town that all led to this one single violent moment? Okay, so let's set the scene. Before all the drama, before the trial, before the broken arm, there was just Macomb. And we see all of it through the eyes of our 6-year-old narrator, Jean Louise Finch. But we all know her as Scout. You gotta understand, Macomb isn't just some dot on a map. It's a whole vibe. It's a town that's just steeped in tradition, where everybody and everything has its place. It's this slow, hot, sleepy world that's run by this invisible, unspoken social rulebook that everyone just knows. And here is that social rulebook in a nutshell. On one hand, you've got families like the Cunninghams. They're poor, sure, but they have their pride. They'll pay you back for a favor with a bag of nuts if that's all they have. And on the other hand, you have the Yules. They kind of live by their own rules, completely outside of society. Getting this difference is absolutely key, because the big trial is about to throw a wrench in this whole system. For Scout, her brother Jem, and their friend Dill, the biggest mystery in the entire town was locked up in the Radley house. Their neighbor, Arthur Boo Radley, wasn't really a person to them. He was a ghost story, a local legend. They spent their summers daring each other to get closer, making up these wild stories based on pure gossip and kid-level terror. So you have this innocent world of summer games and neighborhood ghost stories, and then it all gets shattered. It happens when Scout's dad, a lawyer named Atticus Finch, takes on a case that doesn't just put a man on trial, it puts the entire soul of Macomb on trial. This is the moment it all gets real. Atticus decides he's going to defend Tom Robinson, a black man who's been falsely accused of raping a white woman. And that decision sends these massive shockwaves through the whole town. For Scout and Jem, the schoolyard basically turns into a war zone of insults and finger-pointing overnight. And see, this is what's really at stake for Atticus. This is so much bigger than just winning or losing a court case. It's about whether his kids can survive it. Can he walk them through all this ugliness without them catching that usual disease, that deep-seated racism and hate that's all over their town? So this whole trial, it becomes this living classroom for the kids. And Atticus starts showing them that real courage, well, it's not about being tough or holding a gun. It's something way deeper and a lot harder to come by. Man, this quote, it's everything. It's Atticus's whole philosophy. He says this to Jem right after their neighbor, Mrs. Dubose, passes away. Now, the kids just thought she was this mean, nasty old lady, but Atticus pulls back the curtain and shows them that she was fighting this private, agonizing battle to beat a morphine addiction before she died. And she did it. She won, totally on her own terms. You can literally watch their idea of what's brave just completely evolve. First, they see Atticus, who they think is old and boring, take down a rabid dog with one perfect shot. Total hero stuff. Then they learn about Mrs. DeBoe's quiet, internal fight. And then Scout herself, a little kid, accidentally stops a lynch mob just by being, well, a kid. They're learning that real courage is usually quiet. So this is the big question they're suddenly facing, right? Is bravery about childish dares like touching the spooky Radley house? Or is it about standing up for what's right when you know everyone, and I mean everyone, is against you? Their whole perspective is shifting. All right, so now we get to the trial itself. This is the main event. This is where every lesson about courage and prejudice gets put to the test. And it's the place where the last little bits of childhood innocence are just gone. Atticus gives this incredible closing argument. He's not just talking about facts and evidence, he's basically begging the jury. He's pleading with them to look past their prejudice, to see the truth, and to remember that the courtroom is supposed to be the one place where everyone gets a fair shot. But it didn't matter. The evidence was clear. Tom was innocent, but the verdict was decided before the trial even started. Guilty. For Jem, this moment, it doesn't just break his heart. It completely shatters his faith in the people of his town. Makeham's usual disease had won. And the aftermath is just sickeningly fast and brutal. Tom loses all hope in a system that was never, ever going to be fair to him. He tries to escape, and he's shot 17 times. Think about that number. That's not just stopping an escapee, that's an execution. It's a statement. Okay, so this is where the two huge plot lines of the story, the trial and the whole mystery of Boo Radley, are about to smash right into each other, and the kids are about to get their final and maybe most important lesson of all. Picture this. It's Halloween night. Jim and Scout are walking home, and it is pitch black outside. Suddenly, they're ambushed. It's Bob Ewell, the man whose lies sent Tom Robinson to his death. And now he's trying to get revenge on Atticus by hurting his children. All you hear is Jem's scream. Now, Scout is stuck inside this big, clunky ham costume she wore for the school pageant. She can't see anything. All she can hear are these awful sounds, kicking, scraping, struggling. And then she hears someone else. A third person is there. And after a final, violent struggle, all she hears is a deep, bone-shaking cough. When the sounds stop, Scout manages to get to her feet. Bob Ewell is on the ground, Jem is unconscious, and through the darkness, she sees a man carrying her brother home. But in all the chaos and fear, she has no clue who this person is. And then, standing quietly in the corner of Jem's bedroom, is their savior. And it's him, the neighborhood ghost, the malevolent phantom they had spent years being terrified of. The man they made fun of is the one who just saved their lives. Boo Radley, the recluse, is their protector. And bam, there it is. In that one moment, the biggest lesson Atticus has been trying to teach them this entire time just crystallizes. It's all about empathy. It's about actually trying to see the world through someone else's eyes. It's this beautiful, quiet moment. As Scout walks Boo home, she stops on his porch. And she looks out at her own street, her own neighborhood, from his point of view. And for the very first time, she doesn't see a monster. She sees a neighbor. She realizes the little gifts left in the tree weren't strange, they were acts of friendship. And it all just clicks. She finally understands. And really, that's the question the book leaves us with, isn't it? The biggest takeaway isn't just about justice in a courtroom. It's about empathy on your own street. It's a challenge to every single one of us to look past the rumors, to look past our own biases, and just for a second, to try and stand on someone else's porch and see what the world looks like from there.